Okay, Ramaya, what were you painting here?
So I think we really do have to think more profoundly about how to support children in their growth and development. This is a process that helps teachers to clearly understand where children are and how to support them going forward.
The North Carolina K-3 formative assessment process is a state project to provide teachers with tools that support their efforts to strengthen their instruction.
I think twice.
Well, formative assessment is really at the heart of teaching. It's what good teachers do. You know, that constant give and take of observation, questioning, understanding where a child is, and then providing supports to move to the next level of understanding. What we hope with this process is that we are creating something that leverages that, and in fact helps teachers become better instructors and supporters of young children. And it's critical that this is something that is usable and manageable in the classroom. Teacher input is important to that process, and we welcome that.
The state sought grants to design, test, and implement a K-3 formative assessment process. Shortly after, the North Carolina legislature required the State Board of Education to ensure every entering kindergarten student receive a kindergarten entry assessment.
We like this bike.
There are two key pieces of legislation that speak to assessment across the K-3 space. The kindergarten entry portion or requirement is included in the Read to Achieve Act, Excellent Public Schools Act. That is what is often known as that third grade reading proficiency law. In that legislation is a requirement for the implementation of a statewide kindergarten entry assessment. And another piece of legislation outside of that act is language specific to assessment in grades K through 3. There it's asking the state to develop, adopt, and provide to local school districts assessments across multiple domains in grades K through 3. That legislation is what is driving the particular K-3 formative assessment process that is being developed. The kindergarten entry assessment is part of this larger K-3 formative assessment process. The requirement in state legislation to conduct a kindergarten entry assessment over the first 60 days of kindergarten entry is what helped us define the work specific to that process. But we really believed that if we were going to do this over time in a formative way, it made little sense to end it at 60 days. If it's providing useful information about where children are, that's a process that would be useful across the whole K-3 continuum. And so that drove us to really think in that context, how we could develop something that could bring value to instruction in the classroom.
It's 8.
Show me one more time.
1.
The formative assessment process is a homegrown support for teachers designed by North Carolinians for North Carolina.
The difficulty when you go with an off-the-shelf product is that you don't address the context that exists within a particular state or a particular district. We really felt like if we wanted this to be successful, we wanted to develop it from the ground up. So we wanted input. We did not want to pretend to know that this assessment that we have chosen is what you need to be successful. We wanted to listen to the stakeholders involved. And to that end, we have had significant input, beginning with a think tank comprised of multiple stakeholders, university personnel, scholars, administrators. You know, as we visioned the kindergarten entry assessment and we thought about how to proceed, you know, one advantage of not going with an off-the-shelf product is that we wanted there to be a relationship between the kindergarten entry assessment process that exists with the K-3 formative process that exists. We wanted it to be one continuous process that helps teachers recognize and support children in their growth and development.
I almost finished. Again.
If we just scoot it a little bit. So now what do you need?
Another one.
Okay.
When we started this process, we wanted to create an assessment that was useful, provided quality information, good information to help a teacher inform their instruction. And two, we wanted it to be manageable. And we really felt the best way to go about that was to build off of what teachers do on a daily basis. How do they observe in the classroom? What kinds of information do they collect? How can a teacher collect evidences of learning that help determine where a child may be across multiple developmental domains? So this assessment is unique in that it is part of an instructional process. It's not separate.
So you think you have 20?
I do.
You do?
This assessment provides an opportunity for teachers to build upon what they already know, provides tools for collecting evidences, and helps them think more deeply about where children may be around specific domains of learning.
Okay, so do you want to say I was at Walmart with my mommy and daddy, or I was in a buggy at Walmart, or what do you want to write?
Utilizing digital technology will enable the K-3 formative assessment process to save teacher time, even as it drives instructional innovation and improvement.
The assessment happens through an online platform. Teachers can use that device to collect evidences that help them determine where children are specific to those developmental constructs. There's an efficiency that's built into that. When we look at the multitude of work samples that might exist in a classroom, the teacher has an opportunity to make decisions about what are the best pieces of evidence that tell me where this child is, and I can then include that into this assessment piece, or electronic portfolio for lack of a better term, or collection of evidences. And those evidences as a whole will help me determine where this child is and where to go next.
Stakeholder input and feedback are the keys to long-term success.
In the development of the kindergarten entry process, and in fact the K-3 process, stakeholder engagement has been and will continue to be critical. We can't presume to know what works best in a classroom unless we're listening to the practitioners in the classroom, unless we're listening to families who have children in those classrooms. So that has been at the heart of this work from the beginning and will continue to be so. It's important that teachers speak to and recognize what the positives are and what the issues are. That way we can get to a better end product.
I'm glad I took a picture of it so that we've got it on record, don't we?
I think teachers are conducting the process of formative assessment always. I think they're always watching, observing, and understanding children based on those observations and questions. What is being developed here is a process and tools to help them leverage that type of information to make sound decisions and think more deeply about where children are.